Issue 67. Sonic, wearing a hat on his way back home, notices the lost temple of Shazamazon, stupid name, in the middle of the great rainforest. He then lampshades how stupidly convenient it was that Eggman never ruined this forest, despite his obsession with ruining forests, and stops to appreciate the fact that a paradise like this could even exist. Because he loves nature so much that he doesn't even consider all the diseases and humidity and wild animals and stuff that rainforests usually have. So I'd like some more world building, but where exactly are we in Mobius? I'm guessing Africa. I mean, it does make sense. Africa is just north of Antarctica, and they were traveling north of Antarctica. Sonic then spin dashed through the rainforest to explore the temple without even telling Tails and Nate where he was going, without even thinking that they get worried that he isn't there with them and start wasting time looking for him. Unfortunately, we then have some panels wasted by a pointless recap about how he found and defeated Ixis. And again, the recap actually expects me to believe that Nate created all the rings on the globe. I thought rings were supposed to be a natural, magical thing. They even have their own lore to them where they like to go into chains and they celebrate Sonic getting 1 billion of them with a special ring. And you're telling me they were all created by a regular mortal? I mean, it does make sense in the sense that rings look like they could be man-made because they're gold fashioned into a ring shape. Well, Chaos Emeralds are at least gems, and you do find gems in the real world, so gems, the Chaos Emeralds, are more natural. I guess I can see their crazy logic. Seriously though, this recap is taking forever, never should have existed in the first place. At least it explained that the Forces Zone Silence portal closing up caused the avalanche that made the roof of Nate's castle cave in. But the recap still took up a quarter of the story up to this point. It ends with explaining that Nate decided to return to Mobotropolis to make technology for them. Seriously, I can't pronounce that name for the life of me. Robotropolis makes more sense because it's Robot-tropolis. But what the fuck is Mobotropolis? Finally, the story gets engaging again as Sonic thinks that the temporary ring that's been flying his biplane is so low on energy that he'll need to go into the temple, even though Tails was warning him to be careful on it. Temporary ring? Aren't all rings temporary though? They disappear when they run out of energy. And I guess Tails was expecting him to go into the temple since he was warning him to be careful about it, so they are not going to be worried. It just seemed like he was separating from the group without even telling them first. Of course, the temple had some traps, as Sonic miraculously avoids being shot and crawls along the floor under the gunfire. Then after tripping another trap that sends him falling towards what looks like brown sludge, he saves himself with the Indiana Jones whip that he just happened to have at the moment. Well, the way he was talking about Nate and Tails already knowing the temple, maybe they thought he'd need it. We then cut away to see outer space with some narration over it that just casually mentions apathetically that Sonic's shoes have caught fire. I thought Uncle Chuck made them to be unable to catch on fire so that he wouldn't burn the soles off his shoes when running. And those are some special shoes. Is he going to be without them for a long time, not be able to run without burning the bottom of his feet? That would be kind of an interesting plot point. We cut away to space to see a third satellite come back online and start to target something. Why didn't all the satellites just come back on at once? What is keeping the satellites from doing that? This is to build suspense by dragging it out, and it is working. I can't wait to see what comes of this. But, I mean logically here. We then have Sonic predictably cause the walls to close in when he picks a ring off a pedestal, which was nice enough to stay solid so he could hold it rather than being absorbed into his aura, making him invincible and unable to use it to power his plane. Can people just will rings to stay solid effortlessly just because they want them to be? I guess so. Also, you'd think Sonic has seen enough Indiana Jones movies. I mean, there's no proof that he has, but you'd think that he would at least be enough aware of them for pop culture osmosis that he would know that taking the ring off the pedestal would cause a trap to happen. I mean, it's so obvious. So you'd think that he wouldn't be surprised by this, but every single time he gets surprised. He gets positive, and then a trap happens right afterwards. It makes him look very genre blind. And it's especially confusing since he thought, or someone else thought, to bring a whip for him. And why would he think he needs a whip just because he's going into a temple if he's not thinking that he's imitating Indiana Jones. This is why a pop culture reference doesn't work in Sonic. Especially since, well, I guess you don't really need to know about Indiana Jones to understand this. It's not like the James Bond parody. I mean, I'm not confused by this, and I've never even watched an Indiana Jones thing. Sonic then finds another ring. This one, a special ring, because it's the Ring of Acorns. Doesn't look any different though. And one of the mutate monsters, a giant snake, suddenly attacks him. But he spin dashes out of its grip and manages to get it tied in a knot, just like he did with Eve's last form, only it's an organic being with skin, so it makes sense this time. He then gets chased by the rolling rolling snake ball, and finds some mindless Robians all in front of him in an ancient temple of all places. But he easily avoids them and escapes the temple with a spin dash. It's a good thing that he didn't spin dash through them because, well, then he'd be killing innocent people. I mean, that's what I forgot to mention when I asked why Sonic didn't spin dash through all the Robians that were attacking the Sandblaster City. It was easy for me to forget that they were Robians and not robots because of the way that they were all gray and menacing looking. That would have been awkward if he had done that. Well, this was certainly action-packed and engaging, I'll give them that. Lots of traps and stuff. But it's so generic because it's an Indiana Jones parody, so it's not really exciting. Then we cut to Tails, who says that Nate was the one who put the Ring of Acorns in the temple years ago. Why did he ever do that? Basically, Sonic risking his life in the temple was his fault. Why couldn't the ring have been put there as an ancient treasure by an ancient civilization? Why would that have been too simple? Why would he make that ring just to get rid of it and not use it for anything? Tails asks Nate what was originally there, what he replaced, and Nate says that he replaced one of the legendary Super Emeralds of Mobius, which he used to create those rings that Naugus ended up wanting because he didn't have Chaos Emeralds. That explains even better why Mirror Rings gave Sonic and Tails super forms. Although I prefer the Super Emeralds being Chaos Emeralds powered up by the Master Emerald instead, over Chaos Emeralds that are arbitrarily way more powerful for no reason. And with that, Sonic rushes to the biplane, makes a wish with the Ring of Acorns to teleport everyone in the biplane home. See, I could understand the very, very special Ring of Acorns teleporting him back home. But a regular tiny old ring granting a wish that gets rid of Ixis just like that? Then the next story starts with Lupe of the Wolf Pack leaving Mobotropolis because it was never the Wolf Pack's home to begin with. So I guess they lived in some other village near it then, and that's why they were there to fight Eggman. Sally reassures her that they're more than welcome there, but Lupe says that it's been a very long time since their wolf pack has seen their loved ones. Why is it called a wolf pack if there's only one wolf there? Lupe then explains, rejoining her friends, that her people aren't open with outsiders, so they're racist, and they just thought they'd benefit from fighting Eggman, a common enemy. So after the Wolfpack had written out the comic for the time, before any of them could be given actual personalities, Bunny shows up, speak of the devil, and Sally says to her that she still wants to take some time off from Knot Hole and give Sonic a nice surprise as he comes back for his birthday at the end of the week. How does she know when exactly he'll be back? I'm guessing he called her on a phone somewhere, but now I'm wondering why Sonic isn't home immediately and his wish just made his plane start flying fast instead of teleporting him directly home. Then we see one of the Wolfpack members call Mobotropolis a sewers. That was rude. And then I think it's Lupe talks about how she used to live with her beloved Lobo and their kids in the Great Canyon, until she told him to bring the kids to safety because of the war with the Overlanders happening. They drew lots over who would fight and who would protect the kids, rather than doing the smart thing and having the strongest fight while the not strongest stay with the kids instead of risking their lives in a war. Then the Wolfpack finds a river that wasn't there blocking their way to the Great Canyon before, but fortunately one of them somehow had a raft with them. And after they suddenly get a storm and rough currents when it was just clear skies out, making me wonder if this was somehow Monkey Khan's doing, but of course it isn't. The story ends with me wondering why they thought I care about the Wolfpack, especially since even in the story arc dedicated to them, they still didn't show off any distinct personalities. What's the personalities of any of these characters? I don't know. The first story was written by Carl Pohlers. What's to say about it though? It's just an Indiana Jones ripoff in a Sonic comic. It's certainly action-packed with lots of tense moments and great variety in the traps Sonic's dodging, so it's not all out of place for Sonic. But still, it was just nothing more than Indiana Jones' temple, so obviously even someone who never watched those movies could tell. And the worst part was that the temple was not flashed out in the slightest, so it was just there, for no reason. It was there just for the sake of having an Indiana Jones parody. What really annoyed me was the revelation that Nate, a regular human mortal, made every single power ring. Are you kidding me? I mean, I guess this was mentioned in the previous issue, but it really hit me hard when I read this one. I guess I wanted to go into denial about it. Even the Ring of Acorns, where they don't explain this issue how it's any more special than any other ring, was made by Nate for no reason, and then put where it was instead of properly put to use for no reason. It would have made more sense if rings just magically poofed into existence. They feel like something that's been there as long as the Chaos Emeralds. I mean, if rings were all man-made, can you imagine Nate going himself into every single part of Green Hill Zone and putting the rings there across the loop-de-loops and everything? That's how convoluted this is. After that waste of time was another waste of time, written by Ken Penders, and it'd be fine seeing a story about the Wolfpack if it actually showed each character's personalities and how they contrast each other and some unique character dynamics. But instead, I can't really name even a single personality trait out of any of them, or even their names. So they're serious, maybe? Well, that's just a guess. They hate outsiders. That's racist. But other than that, they don't feel like actual people. I honestly couldn't care less what their fate in this raft is. The worst part is I was expecting a follow-up to the Save the Queen mission, so this was definitely not a welcome surprise. There's nothing inherently torturous about these two stories, they're fine, but just generic and bland respectively. So next up, we're finally returning to Knuckles comic for issues 19, 20, and 21.